managing remote employees is the thing. Oh yeah, why is it the thing? Because more and more people don't want to come to work. No offense, but your people don't want to come to work. They want to be home in their underwear watching Netflix. Okay, that's the problem. You see, if you think that, you don't have trust. I said that on purpose. If you believe that they're at home watching some weird Ben Affleck movie and they're not working, that means that you don't trust them, that you don't have any faith, and they know that. So if they know that you don't trust them, you can't be influential. You can't increase their performance. So the first thing when it comes to managing remote people, managing those homebound workers, is they need to know that you believe they're actually doing something. And it's a very basic thing, but remember, sometimes we forget the basics and wonder why the specifics don't work.
So the bottom line is making people feel valuable and focusing much more on strengths and weaknesses allows everything else you do to get better results. So anybody who has this idea that you're going to sit someone down and start pointing out their problems and pain points and think that you're going to have some type of, influential advantage, we could find no evidence of that. It just wasn't working well enough. So what are you doing for people they couldn't do for themselves? What's the answer? Is clarity. I wish I could tell you that somehow that intelligence was going to do something. I wish I could. Is that really the audience right there? Is that really just one dude? Okay. I'm going to try to just keep going like that's okay.
Many of you are out there watching this on a tablet or a laptop or a phone or your friend's phone that you've stolen. But the key here is, are we focused on understanding that circumstances do not create our destiny? We've got what it takes to move forward and thrive in any situation, coronavirus or not. We have what it takes to be effective. So let's get started right away. Great lineup. We're going to hear from lots of great speakers. We'll have a great panel. It's going to be a great show. I'm your host, Garrison Wynn, and let's get started. Every generation has a war or a pandemic or some weird thing that makes life terrible or seemingly unbearable or unfair, And it just happens to every generation. If you live long enough, it's going to happen. And it just so happens that we're in that now. And there's this weird idea that somehow circumstances create our destiny. And it's just never been true. Historically, it's never been true. So there are people who've been through worse things than you think you're going through, and they came out fine. There are people with worse opportunities than you have. They did pretty well. And that's the truth. So this kind of idea is basically, it's believing the lie. We let our brains tell us something that's just completely untrue. Most of us have the ability to do many great things we're just not that aware of. And the thing about it is like, how do you know what you're capable of? How in the hell would you know what you're actually capable of? You wouldn't. So why not just try? Why not put the maximum amount of effort? Why not just never stop getting better? Why would you stop getting better? All the research I've seen a bunch. And everything I've looked at, and I've literally worked with the entire Fortune 500 for 25 years. And I've seen what those companies do that make them so effective. I look at all of that. It comes down to one thing. It comes down to, can I be flexible when things are kind of terrible? It's true. How good are you? Well, how good are you when it's bad? And the truth is most people are better than they think. That's right. Most people are much better than they think, and I think that's something that we can try to just embrace and say, hey, we're going to deal with what comes. When life gives you a crap sandwich, you learn how to eat crap sandwiches and you move forward, and that's what the most successful people do. Robot marketing problems. Another thing happened years ago. Honda made a robot called Asimo or something. I don't know. First of all, never name a robot that starts off with the word ass. But secondly, Asimo was a robot, and the market was to replace your butler. Well, how many people have a butler? That's a pretty narrow market of people who have butlers. They wanted to replace your butler or give you a robot butler. The problem was the robot was weird and clumsy and walked funny. And when people saw the advertisement, they laughed. They thought it was a blooper reel. And literally, Asimo dropped stuff and tripped over stuff. It was an absolute joke. So if you're putting something out there, number one, make sure that your niche market is big enough. Niche markets are great. It's got to be big, but also if you're in a niche market, you better be good. You can't be in a niche market and suck. Hey, I've got a niche market and I'm terrible, because you'll kill your entire niche market very quickly if you're not very good. And that's what happened to that. And that's why nobody has a robot walking around making them drinks. So thank you so much for having me as your keynote speaker at the virtual event. You know, the first thing out of my mouth is, when the pain of what you're going through becomes greater than the fear of change, you change. And sometimes not 1 minute before that. The most talented people are the worst at change, and they'll leave in times of change. That's exactly right. You know what? If you're kind of flexible and you kind of suck anyway, it's easy to change. I wasn't that damn good to begin with. Of course I can change. But people who are in the groove, who have a track record of doing it really, really well, are sometimes the hardest to motivate and are most likely to jump ship and go somewhere else, to another company that maybe isn't changing as progressively as you are. And that's what the headhunters say when they call them on the phone. That's exactly right. Anyway, that's what we'll talk about. Let's get on with it.